Imagine a nation just deciding that its main tool for communication, its written language, is such a huge obstacle that it has to be, well, dismantled.
And not just dismantled.
No, completely rebuilt from scratch. Immediately.
Yeah.
And that's what we're diving into today. The incredible, revolutionary transformation of the Turkish language.
It really was less of a slow evolution and more of a rapid, deliberate surgery on the nation's identity.
One of the most radical linguistic overhauls in modern history, for sure.
It's a breathtaking story. I mean, it spans centuries, continents. We're going to track it from these ancient whispers on the steppe all the way to a modern republic.
And our mission here is really to understand why. What were the pressures that made abandoning their history not just desirable, but absolutely necessary for survival?
Exactly. And the stakes were, well, they were the entire future of the nation.
Absolutely. Think about it. What happens when a country looks at its writing system and just says, this isn't working? This is holding back progress.
And the numbers we're going to look at, especially around literacy, are just staggering.
They really are. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the earliest roots. To really find the DNA of Turkic, you have to go way back.
Way back. We're talking 1,500 years to the 6th century.
Right, to the rugged terrain of modern-day Mongolia and the Altai Mountains.
That's the birthplace of the Gökturks. They established the first major Turkic empire, and they left these declarations.
Not in libraries, but carved right into stone. The Orkhon inscriptions.
Exactly. That's the earliest tangible proof we have of a written Turkic language, and it was in what's called the Old Turkic script.
And that script is fascinating. It looks almost runic.
It does. Very angular, very tough. I mean, it's designed to be hammered into a rock face.
A language for declaring power.
Absolutely. But, you know, more important than the script itself is the actual architecture of the language they created.
Which is still the defining feature of Turkish today.
Agglutination.
The language's Lego idea. I found that analogy from our sources so helpful.
It's a perfect way to describe it. You start with a root word.
And then you just snap on another piece and another. Suffix after suffix.
Each one is a building block that adds meaning tense, action, negation, who's doing it.
Right, so unlike English where we use separate words, like I cannot come.
Turkish can do that in a single synthetic word. You take a root like gel, which means come, and you can build it into something like gelemedines.
Which means you all could not come.
Precisely. All that information in one word. And that depth structure has survived for 1,500 years. It's incredible.
And we have to remember the scale here, the migration. This language family spread across all of Eurasia.
And today you have somewhere between 170 and 200 million people speaking a Turkic language.
All the way from Turkey to Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, even the Uyghur region in China.
Which brings us to the next phase. That journey west.
Around the 10th and 11th centuries. This is the pivotal moment.
It is. The Oghuz Turks move into Anatolia, they adopt Islam, and suddenly the linguistic purity of the steppe is just shattered.
Because when you adopt Islam, you bring in Arabic.
The language of the Quran, of scholarship. And then as you build an empire, you bring in Persian.
The language of high culture, poetry, the court.
And the result of that fusion was Ottoman Turkish. A majestic, beautiful, but incredibly complicated hybrid language.
And it created this huge social divide, right?
A massive one. The common people, they kept speaking a form of Turkish they called Kaba Turkcell.
Which means rough Turkish.
Right. But the elite, the court, the scholars, they were using a language that was almost unintelligible to the average person.
And the numbers really drive this home. The grammar, the sentence structure, stayed Turkic. Subject, object, verb.
But the vocabulary...
The vocabulary was overwhelmingly borrowed. In some Ottoman text, up to 80% of the words were from Arabic and Persian.
Which basically gate-kept literacy. You couldn't just learn to read, you had to have a classical education.
And then you layer the script problem on top of that.
This is the killer detail. Ottoman Turkish was written using the Arabic script.
Which makes sense, given the religious connection. But our sources are so clear that this was a technical disaster.
It was a disaster. The Arabic script is, well, it's a design for Arabic. It has markers for 3 main vowels.
Okay.
But Turkish has 8 distinct vowel sounds. Think of the difference between I, U, U.
Right, they're all different. So you're trying to cram 8 sounds into a 3-vowel system.
Yes. It created crippling ambiguity. So many words looked identical on the page. You had to guess the meaning from the context.
That must have been an absolute nightmare for anyone trying to learn.
Or for anyone trying to print. It crippled mass communication. Reading required so much training, and that's why the literacy rate was so low.
That statistic we mentioned earlier?
At the end of the Ottoman Empire, literacy was estimated at 10%, maybe even less. The script wasn't just old, it was actively sabotaging the nation's future.
Which brings us to 1923, the birth of the Republic, and Mustafa Kemal Atatürk,
Who saw that script not as history, but as chains.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Ataturk basically decided that if Turkey was going to be a modern Western nation, it needed a modern alphabet. And he wasn't going to wait.
No gradualism here. The change was immediate. It was absolute. On November 1st, 1928, the language revolution, the Dildavrimi, was declared.
A mandatory overnight switch.
Imagine it. You go to bed reading one alphabet. You wake up the next morning, and every single sign, every newspaper, every document is in a totally different system.
And it wasn't just the English alphabet. They adapted it, right?
They did. They added specific characters to handle all those Turkish sounds the Arabic script couldn't. Letters like SOE, the dotless O, E.
So every sound now had its own unique, unambiguous letter.
Exactly. And the way Ataturk enforced this is just, it's a crucial part of the story. He didn't just issue a decree from an office.
No, he became the national teacher.
He did. He personally traveled the country, to remote villages even.
With a blackboard and chalk.
With a blackboard and chalk. He'd set it up in a town square and just start teaching crowds of farmers and workers the new letters. He knew this kind of cold turkey switch needed everyone from the top down to embrace it.
And the results weren't abstract. The impact was immediate.
It was dramatic. Literacy rates, which had been stuck below 10% in 1927,
Shot up to over 20% in just a few years.
and kept climbing. Today, it's over 90%. It's the clearest possible proof that the script really had been the main mechanical obstacle.
But once the script was fixed, the revolution wasn't over.
No, then it turned inward to the words themselves. This kicks off phase 4, the purge.
The Turkish Language Association, the TDK, was founded in 1932.
And its goal was aggressive. It was about linguistic purification.
Stripping out all those Arabic and Persian loanwords that made up the language of the Ottoman elite.
It was a very nationalistic project. It was about severing the intellectual ties to the old caliphate, so the TDK had to find new words.
Where did they get them from?
Well, they either dug up these archaic, almost forgotten old Turkic words from ancient texts, or they just invented new ones from Turkish roots.
I can imagine there was some resistance to that.
Oh, huge resistance, especially from older intellectuals. They felt their entire literary heritage was being, just thrown in the garbage. They saw this new pure Turkish as sterile and thin.
It's fascinating how quickly politics can just declare that words used for centuries are now foreign.
And this nationalist push led to probably the most bizarre part of the whole story.
The Sun language theory.
The Gunis dil Terrorisi. Linguistically, it is completely unfounded. But politically, it was essential.
So what did it actually claim? It's a bit hard to wrap your head around.
The theory was that Turkish wasn't just an old language, it was the mother template for all human languages.
The mother of all languages.
Yes. The argument was that the first words humans ever spoke were based on sun worship, and that those core sounds were Turkic. They even tried to claim that ancient Sumerians and Hittites were originally Turkic.
Okay, so that's clearly pseudoscience. But you say it served a vital purpose.
Absolutely. It was psychological honor. Turkey was a young republic. It felt culturally inferior to the West. The Sun language theory gave them this instant, massive source of national pride.
It reframed the whole project.
It did. They weren't just getting rid of old words. They were returning to the original, pure source of all human communication. The story they told themselves was just as important as the change itself.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's shift from that political turmoil to the modern language that they created.
Yeah.
What defines the sound, the practical feel of Turkish today?
I think the first thing anyone notices is vowel harmony. It's a defining, almost musical quality in all Turkic languages.
It's like a strict internal rule for how the language has to sound.
A sonic rule, yeah. It makes the language flow. Basically, it ensures that vowels in a word match each other. They have to be either all front vowels like E or U, or all back vowels like A or U.
So a suffix isn't a static thing. It actually changes to match the root word.
Exactly. Take the plural suffix. It can be either eller or eller. You don't just pick one. For a word like ev, which is house and has a front vowel.
You get evler.
Right. But for kitap, book, which has back vowels.
It becomes kitaplar.
Yes. And that constant adjustment is why Turkish, when you hear it spoken, sounds so smooth and fluid. There's no sonic friction.
And another feature which makes it a little simpler for learners is the famous lack of grammatical gender.
A huge simplification, yeah. Compared to learning French or German, the single pronoun O means he, she, or it.
Does that mean you lose descriptive power, though?
That's a great question. And no, not really, because all that specificity is just handled by the context or by using adjectives. The language is engineered to prioritize being concise.
But we should be clear, this modern structure isn't entirely uniform. There's still a lot of linguistic diversity in Turkey and some political tension that goes with it.
Right. Standard Istanbul Turkish is the official language, but the country is diverse.
Which brings up the Kurdish population. They're a huge group, maybe 15 to 20% of the country.
And they speak languages like Kurmanji or Zazaki, which are not Turkic languages at all. And this has been a very sensitive area.
For decades, the public use of Kurdish was heavily restricted.
Very restricted, banned from schools, from media. The goal was to solidify that single, unified linguistic identity that was forged in the 1930s.
But that hard line seems to be softening a little bit now.
It is, very gradually. We've started to see things like state-run Kurdish TV channels or schools offering Kurdish as an elective class.
So it's a tentative step toward acknowledging that cultural heritage.
It is, but it's a very fragile balancing act between that deep-seated nationalism and recognizing cultural rights.
And despite these internal issues, modern Turkish has become this incredibly powerful tool for soft power globally.
It's the surprising final chapter of the revolution. The global popularity of Turkish TV shows, the DZ,
They're everywhere.
they've exploded. They are massive cultural exports all over the Middle East, North Africa, even Latin America. It's driving tourism, economic interest, and a real desire to learn the language.
It's proof that a language, even one reshaped so brutally for domestic reasons, can become this huge engine for global influence.
It really is.
So when you look back at that whole monumental journey, from runic script on the steppe, through the complex Ottoman court, to Ataturk with his chalk on blackboard, the story of Turkish is really a story of national self-determination.
They looked at their past and made a conscious, deliberate choice to build a different future, word by word, letter by letter.
What's so fascinating is just how quickly they did it. How a nation can choose to sever these deep historical ties, all that Arabic and Persian influence, in pursuit of a modern national future.
It just shows you that language is never static. It's a living thing, it's a political battleground, and it reflects the destiny of its speakers.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. If 80% of a classical language, like Ottoman Turkish, could suddenly be labeled foreign and just removed, what percentage of your own daily vocabulary, the words you use without even thinking, is tied to cultural or political influences you don't even realize? And how quickly could all of that be edited out for some new political necessity?